lanes that were not damaged by the storm. What that consisted of is Wright Brothers Construction and their partners, Geostabilization International, started working on soil nail installation. It's a temporary shoring mechanism that uses steel rods drilled into the mountainside, into competent rock to hold everything in place so that we didn't lose any more of the open travel lanes. That work will be completed this week. It has been completed. That's why we're moving forward with the March 1st opening of the I-40 roadway. That's the overview. What questions do you have?
So can you say if trucks will be allowed? I know there's a lot of concern over semi-trucks and using the car roadway. Are trucks going to be allowed to traverse a portion of I-40?
There will be no oversized, overweight loads allowed through this roadway at all, but standard side tractor trailers will be allowed to pass through here.
Will there be any violations or ticketing for folks who decide to stop as they're driving through? Like who use the emergency lane to get out and take pictures?
We will be policing that with our contractor. We do not encourage people to stop and take pictures or to try and view the damaged area. At this time, we don't have a mechanism in place to find them, but should that become a consistent problem, we will definitely pursue some sort of heavier policing of that area so that people aren't stopping in that emergency travel lane.
So should people stay in their vehicles?
Yes,
Passing through this
people should stay in their vehicles as they're passing through.
Nathan, if I'm living down in Charlotte and I want to go out to Knoxville, what do you want to tell those folks down in Charlotte? Is this the way you would go? Drive in, see?
I would say that the road will be open. You could pass through here. You'd have to account for the delay time in your travel if you wanted to come through this route. So I don't want to discourage people from coming through I-40. I just want them to be aware of the current roadway conditions and what kind of traffic delays they could expect.
There could be delays, big delays.
Yes, sir.
How long will it take to actually push this freeway to a 4-lane instead of just a 2 that it is now? What's the time frame?
What we're looking at for permanent repairs is a 2 to 3 year construction time frame. But in that time frame, we're going to be working towards opening up to more lanes of travel as early as possible. We're about 10 to 12% complete with the permanent repair design. We're using an alternate delivery mechanism for contracting. What that means is the contractor, the designer, and the DOT are working together right now to come up with a permanent repair solution that will allow us to improve the current roadway alignment and condition as we progress construction. So at this time, I don't really have a date for when we might have either wider lanes or additional lanes of travel, but we're hoping to do that sooner rather than later.
And what would you say to people who, are you encouraging people or advising against people from coming in to take part in like disaster tourists, to just come to I-40 just to take a drive to see what this looks like?
I would discourage that. We don't want people to come through here trying to sightsee or get a picture of the damage. This is a route that we're concerned about opening. We want it to be open for the economy of North Carolina, but we do not encourage drivers to come through here just to sightsee.
What kind of challenges does this present when it comes to opening up the rest of this road now that you're going to allow traffic back on it full time? Now it's walk on the other side. What kind of challenges does that present going forward for the rest of the time?
The most significant challenges that it presents is the access of material to the work site. Some of our stone and other products are being hauled from outside sources, quarries that are not located here on site. So travel times for that construction material is a concern. However, the actual construction itself will most likely take place from the bottom up. So we'll be working at the toe of the slope, trying to repair the slope by building retaining walls from the bottom up to the top. And we're partnering with several agencies to look at, creative ways to utilize material. We're in negotiations to do that currently, and our hope is that we'll be able to succeed in that regard. I think there was a question. Yeah, so part of that alternate delivery mechanism, we got federal highway approval to utilize what's called a CMGC contract. It stands for Construction Manager and General Contractor. It's really a partnership that allows us to work directly with our selected contractor and directly with our selected designer to come up with cost-effective and more resilient solutions to hopefully build a roadway here that'll withstand a really significant storm event.
Could you just kind of emphasize the impact that this building is going to have on the economy, travelers, and then maybe touch on how the closure has impacted all of that these last 5 months?
Yeah, so I don't know the exact numbers, but the trafficking of goods through the I-40 gorge is a prominent business model and strategy for the economy in western North Carolina. There's millions of dollars a day of goods that are transported through this route, so that revenue is essentially lost when the road is closed, and we've been closed for months now. So opening it up will provide us a way to transport those goods in and out of North Carolina and allow us to bring some form of tourism back to North Carolina, which will also help local economies.
Aside from this road itself, talk about the other major highways and roadways in North Carolina that you guys monitor. Those have been clogged up because this has been closed. So talk about the impact and how much more room there is going to be to navigate with how open those roads are going to be come Saturday when you're loading this back up. What it's going to do for the other roadways in North Carolina.
Well, it'll allow people to travel into North Carolina and fan out from there in any direction. We've been able to open a good portion of roads that were closed in North Carolina since the storm began, and we're currently, we're working towards that every day. And so now that more roads are open in western North Carolina, we hope that people will travel into North Carolina via this route, which is a primary interstate route, and then take advantage of whatever's open everywhere else in North Carolina.
Take us back to the fall and describe the assessment you guys had of that initial damage. Obviously, horrific over here. Describe that initial assessment and just how far it's come.
Yeah, so that initial emergency contract that we executed, we had several geotechnical engineers internally come out and start monitoring the slope. There's been countless inclinometers, which are monitoring devices to monitor the movement in the slope, installed all throughout the 4-mile stretch of roadway here. We've installed over 10,000 square feet of soil nails to pin the slope, and then from there, we were originally scheduled for a January opening, but we had another failure that prevented us from succeeding in that. So what we were able to do is take a little more time to analyze the rest of the slope to make sure we didn't have any additional movement in those westbound lanes, increase the square footage of soil nails that we were going to install, and then have geotechnical engineers come back and assess every stretch of the roadway to make sure it was safe enough to open to traffic.
What kind of coordination did y'all do with local emergency management on North Carolina and Tennessee for the protocol if there is an accident or emergency that has to require?
We've had bi-weekly meetings with Tennessee and Tennessee DOT since the storm event. As soon as we maintained communication, we were talking with them regularly about their response to the storm, about how they were going to make permanent repairs, and how they were going to eventually open to traffic.
With it being only 2 lanes, like how local EMS and stuff will get in?
Yeah, we've had multiple meetings through our IMAP units with Tennessee and with North Carolina, and all Haywood County local first responders and all of their managers to discuss the approaches, who's responsible for what, and we're going to run all that through our contracting team that's going to be on the ground, our resident engineer and our inspection staff, and they're going to be reporting out to these people weekly about what's happening down here, what they can expect down here, and really maintaining an open line of communication for if there is a collision, this is the protocol. So we've outlined that thoroughly.
Can you talk about, I know when we were driving, the road wasn't exactly what was the most biggest priority for getting I-40 open? Because I know that the roadway was a little bit uneven. Can you talk about the road conditions as far as the asphalt and the surface in particular?
Yeah, so we did a minimal amount of shoulder widening with asphalt to try and achieve some more width. It's complicated to shift traffic to one side of I-40 simply because the alignment is challenging in this area. The horizontal and vertical alignment is very curvy, it's very steep in places, it has a super elevation. So we had to look at all those areas and make sure we had proper width.
Do you have updated cost figures for the emergency contract?
emergency contract, the total dollar figure will be somewhere 12 to 15 million. The permanent repair, we're still going through the process of identifying what items will be included, and we're developing that design so we don't have accurate cost estimates of the permanent repair at this time.
I know you mentioned it earlier in your beginning part, but and you mentioned the emergency pull-offs on the Tennessee side, but as I see two narrow lanes here, if someone breaks down or something happens here, how is a first responder going to get to the line of cars to get to someone who may be broken down right by where we're at here? Can you explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so right here what you have is you have emergency pull-offs or bulb outs headed westbound. There's 5 of them, I believe, along the 4-mile corridor. Headed eastbound, you have that 12-foot emergency travel lane. And periodically through this entire 4-mile stretch, you have breaks in that center concrete barrier. Emergency management and first responders will approach heading into traffic in that emergency lane to one of those breaks in the median barrier to access traffic. In addition to emergency management and first responder support, we've also executed a towing contract through our division. These guys will be staged here 24 hours a day with immediate contact to all first responders in the event of a collision, so they can mobilize to the collision site, clear the traffic into that emergency travel lane, and clear traffic from the roadway. It's a big deal. It's a big accomplishment. It was a heavy lift. So on average, on a normal construction project, when you're doing soil nail installation in like conditions, the soil nail contractors achieve around 1,000 square foot a day. We were averaging 3,000 and 4,000 square feet a day because of the number of crews that we had here and the support that we had from our inspection team. So it's a monumental accomplishment on a historic project that North Carolina has never seen the like of before.
USDOT Secretary Duffy suggested that an expedited repair process could happen if they use local rock. He later clarified that this could be river rock. Expand, or has there been any expansion of what that plan might look like?
We're still in negotiations with Forest Service at this time to work out the details of that, so we have not finalized those plans yet. But there is a possibility to utilize local deposited rock from the site to incorporate into causeway construction, which is a small piece of the overall construction of the permanent repair. But in those negotiations, Forest Service has been a great partner and very helpful, and so we're still pursuing those avenues.
How many miles of roadway have been rebuilt so far, and can you explain the steps that have been taken to improve I-40 so far?
Yeah, so it's a 4-mile stretch of roadway that we've been working on right here on the I-40 gorge. And while it's not fully repaired, we've installed soil nails and temporary shoring along the entire 4-mile corridor. Over 10,000 square feet of soil nails have been installed to safe up the roadway so that we can open it to traffic.
You may have said this already, I might not have heard it. What's the price tag that digs all this out here? Do you have an estimate on that?
We don't have an estimate for the permanent repair yet. The contract method that we're using to design the permanent repair requires us to get so far along in the design process and then assign quantities and cost of that and negotiate it with our contracting partners. We're still working through that process. The emergency repair that allowed us to get the road open was $12 to $15 million. So those inclinometers that I mentioned, they're a measuring device that tracks movement in the slope. We've installed those along the entire corridor. Our geotechnical engineers are here weekly to assess all slope failure along this entire stretch of roadway. It's a large team of people who monitor these slopes and check that data. In addition to that, when we had that original slope failure, we installed more soil nails. So hence the longer closure from January. We felt like if we installed more soil nails along the corridor at a tighter spacing and a a deeper depth down the slope, that we would pin those areas that were causing us problems and having more significant movement.
Saturday, is it going to be open in the afternoon, morning? What time can drivers expect to have this open by then?
I would expect it to be open sometime in the morning on Saturday.
As you mentioned, this is a very complicated project. Where's it ranking your own? Have you ever been involved in something like this?
I've never been involved in something this large or this significant. I think a lot of people in DOT have never seen this level of damage along a primary interstate route ever in their careers. It's historic for North Carolina. It's historic for the country.
How does it feel to be a part of it?
I wish I was it to some degree, because it is a monumental impact, but as far as an engineering and my career goes, it is significant to me to be a part of it. It's important to all of us at DOT, and we take it very seriously.
And I've seen some comments on Facebook on previous stories we have done about your efforts to repair I-40. Some people have said online that they are feeling some anxious, that even though the road is open, they may not trust it. What can you say to help ease their feelings of anxiety knowing that this road is reopening?
I would say that our engineers have prioritized this project and this opening over everything else from the top down. So our best people are working daily on this project. We would not open this road if we did not feel confident that it was safe for people to travel it. And we're going to be working every day to get it repaired. Every day it gets a little better. So we improve the factor of safety every day until the permanent repair is completed.
Do you know how many people worked on reopening I-40? Do you have like an estimate?
Very many. It would be a high number. There are a lot of people in other units that don't, they're in Raleigh, they're in Charlotte, they're in Asheville. So there are a number of people that I don't interact with on a daily basis, but they've all been involved to one degree or another, helping us finalize the engineering and develop plans for how to open this road and how to build this project back.
Obviously, it'll vary depending on time of day and whatnot, but how much extra time would you encourage the public to build into their travel time if they need to go through this stretch of road just to do it?
It really depends on the traffic volume. So the weekend days are usually higher traffic volumes, and peak hour traffic times are precarious. So early in the morning, late in the evening, when people are traveling to and from work, or on the weekends when they're traveling to just visit, local areas in North Carolina, the delay time could be significant. I would say hours instead of minutes, and I think people should just be prepared for that.
Did we miss anything? Alternate route?
There is one other thing that I want to mention. If you're traveling into North Carolina or out of North Carolina into Tennessee, people should also be aware that from mile marker 33 to mile marker 15, there are active construction projects that were in active construction prior to Helene and are still in active construction now. There will be some one-lane patterns periodically at those locations from mile marker 33 to mile marker 15 that could also impact delays in travel times.
When you were coming back to Tennessee, there were some portions where we're going 8 miles per hour. Is that a possibility?
It's hard to say. It depends on the amount of traffic and the type of traffic. If you get significant, tractor trailer traffic traveling close together in long lines, then yeah, I think your speed limit could be severely reduced as a result of that.
Thank you, Nathan. Appreciate it. Good work.
Yeah.
All right. And from here, I think we'll give 15-ish minutes. Folks can shoot what they want. Come ask me some.
The name of your spelling?
Spell your name.
Tanner is the last name, Tanner, and Nathan is Nathan.
15, 20-ish minutes. Drones up if the wind permits, and shoot, catch me off to the side.